Okay, good morning. This is my volume number 3 of All Rev'd Up here at Christ Church Westerly. And this morning we're here together, organist and choirmaster George Kent and I are here to discuss sort of looking back and looking forward in many ways. I think there's been a lot of reminiscing this week. We lost a dear member of our community, former rector and retired bishop of the Diocese of Central New York, Bishop David Jocelyn, died last week after battling with a debilitating illness that he fought so bravely against for many years. He died peacefully at home, and this coming Saturday we'll be celebrating his life with a Requiem Eucharist at Christ Church, and we're going to have time to remember him and celebrate his life. And I was thinking, George, your history here has been so prolific, and it dawned on me that I was actually 6 years old when you began as organist here at Christ Church. So there must be a whole long list of rectors that you've come to know.
Yes, this will be my 14th rector coming. Yeah, so I've been through quite a few.
Now, would you say been through quite a few?
Well, I don't mean that in the wrong way, but
No, I know you don't.
But it's been a long time. Yes,
Yeah, what
yes.
a history.
Yeah, started with Bill Kite, who became the archdeacon, of the diocese, and then right up till today. So quite a few.
Quite a few rectors. And I became the interim rector back in the first part of August, shortly after our previous rector, Sunil Chandy, was called to be the canon for communication ministry in the dioceses of East and West Michigan. And Sunil will be coming back this weekend to celebrate David's life with us on Saturday. How long was David rector here?
I'm not sure of the years. I haven't kept track of that.
Yeah, I meant to look up the dates, but
he might have been here 10 years. I'm not sure. I'm not sure.
And he was sandwiched in between Father Anand and Bob Anthony. Is that right?
Yes, I think just after Father Derrigan, I believe.
Oh, that's right.
I think so. Yeah.
Well, he left Christ Church after he served as rector for those many years, and then he became rector in Minnesota.
Yes, Edina, I think. Yeah.
Is that where it was?
I believe so.
Yeah. And then that's where he was elected to the episcopate, to the Diocese of Central New York.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. And after that, when he retired from as the ordinary in Central New York, he served here in the Diocese of Rhode Island as an assisting bishop when Bishop Wolf was here. And then later, I think he served, or maybe before that, I can't recall, he served as an assisting bishop in the Diocese of New Jersey.
I believe that's correct.
Yeah.
I think I know that. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's where he met Sunil.
Yes, that's correct.
Yeah. Well, when he retired after all those years of being an assisting bishop, he retired back here to Westerly. He lost his first wife, and he and Missy have been together for many years now. And I have to say that throughout David's illness while I've been here, she has just been a guardian angel for his care.
Absolutely. Yes. Yeah, that's been a very, very good thing.
Yeah.
Very good thing. Yeah.
Well, David did become with me a very close friend. And, the first Sunday I was here, I think it was the first Sunday in August, about 7 o'clock that night, I got a phone call, and it was Bishop Jocelyn. And I was flabbergasted. I had already had lunch with him, or I think I met with him or something before I actually started. But he called me up, and I have to tell you, that night and every other conversation after that, he was just very supportive and affirming, and I never ever felt like he was butting in. You know,
Right.
he used to start his conversation with, "Well, I hope I'm not overstepping my bounds." And I said to him, "David, stop it. I appreciate you calling me." You know.
No, I got in the past few years, I also got a lot of phone calls, and he was very supportive of what we were doing with the music. He was a great person to work for, really was, yeah.
Yeah. I know I've talked to several of the associate clergy that were here that worked with David, and they all have fond memories of his time here. Some of them will be back for the service on Friday and Saturday.
Yes.
I think we're going to break the record this Saturday for the number of bishops we're going to have in church. David was very fastidious about planning his own funeral.
Yes, I have a file that thick. And he had really some he was very interested in involving as many of his co-priests as possible.
Yeah.
And he had some very good ideas about what music. All the music on Saturday will be his choice.
Yeah, very, very thoughtful. And as things changed, the list sometimes evolved a little bit. But basically, it was the way he wanted it, and who we wanted to serve. The Bishop of Rhode Island, Bishop Nicely, will be the principal celebrant, and a former assistant to David, Lawrence Provenzano, who is now Bishop Provenzano, will be the preacher at David's funeral, and Bishop Geraldine Wolfe, who David assisted as assisting bishop, and who is the former Bishop of Rhode Island, will be the gospeler, and then Bishop Gladstone Adams, Skip Adams, will be here. He's going to lead our prayers of the people. And the new bishop of Central New York, Dee Dee, I can't remember her last name, Duncan, she's the present bishop, she'll be here. So we will have our share of miters.
Will there be any room for the congregation?
I know, I tell you. When Bishop Adams called me last Friday to say he was coming, and I said, I was told that you were by Sunil. See, he and Sunil are working together in Michigan now.
Oh, right, okay.
And Bishop Adams called me on Friday, and I laughed, and I said, I'm running out of things for people to do. And I said, I was almost going to say to him, I can give you a job doing the prayers of the people, but I think you're going to have to sit on my lap in the sanctuary. But he was good-humored about it. And then we're going to have reception in the parish hall afterwards. That'll be a nice time for everybody to gather around. What were some of the things that happened while David was rector here? Do you recall?
No, I can't think of anything special.
Was David the one that took the cushions out of the pews?
Well, I could tell you that actually, that you're bringing that back. We do suffer from not a good acoustic in this building, and there was an effort to replace the rug in the main aisle, and I told people, that's a real mistake. We need every inch of reflection that we can get, and then there was an effort to redo the pew cushions, and then the senior warden, Jack Tobin, was with us, and They said, well, they can't make any difference. I said, you know, he said, there are people in those cushions. I said, yes, but when they're singing, they're standing up.
That's right.
And that's a different issue. The three of us removed all the cushions one night, and I played the organ for them to listen to it, and then we put them back. It was a long evening, and I played again.
Really?
And they both realized that yes,
proved your point.
And so the pew cushions finally disappeared.
Yeah.
And people sort of complained, you know, sitting on hard oak. I said, "We'll try it every Sunday." You know, I've been doing it for years.
That's right.
Anyway.
I'm sure that's makes a difference acoustically.
Oh yeah, it does. And Charles Fisk was alive still at that point, who was the builder of the organ, and he said, if you will get rid of the pew cushions, I'll come back and redo the reed division of the organ for free, which he did.
Yeah.
So.
Where was he from, George?
Rockport, Mass, just north of Gloucester. Yeah.
Now, did he build the organ in my former parish at St. John's? They have.
Yes, I think. Well, I don't think.
It's a tracker. I know that.
Yeah, that's correct, and it's a Fisk. And I don't know whether Charles was still alive at that point. I think he was.
The acoustics in that building are almost overbearing. I shouldn't say that because John Anthony wouldn't be happy for me to say that, but John was an excellent organist.
Oh, yes.
But it's a modern building with absolutely no carpeting and no cushions. It's got exposed steel beams and a wooden ceiling.
Yeah, good.
Acoustically, I suppose it's an organist's dream, you know. But it's a beautiful instrument, as is the one here is just magnificent.
Well, acoustics are 50% of music. 50% of music is where you are, and the other 50% is you and the music.
Wow, yeah.
That's just a fact. So it's very important, yeah. And, you know, the bulk of Anglican music was written for buildings with a good reverberation, you know, as in England, most of them. I can't think of a bad building in England, actually.
Right, yeah. The change in music, in liturgical music over the years, there's still nothing comparable to organ music. You know, when I was raised as a Roman Catholic, and in the 60s they came in with all this guitar music and this sing-songy hymns.
Yeah, no, it all changed. Vatican II did a job on it, really. And unfortunately, we followed suit to a slight degree, and that did not help. So.
There's nothing like Gregorian chant.
No. And, you know, I mean, originally, the music, when you think about it, and you think about the cathedrals that are hundreds of years old and parish churches, etc., the same way, the building was meant to be special, not just in size and all of that, but in sound.
I see.
It was not your living room acoustic. It was special. And when you enter a church with a large reverberation, you really take it, you don't go clattering down them because, you know, it just reverberates so special. And, you know, when it came along to singing, that was, again, part of it. Not the spoken word, but something you don't do every day. And the way that happened was that the monks in the monasteries started all of this, and the head monk would chant in the morning to the priests coming into breakfast, you know, "Good morning," you know, and they would reply back, "Good morning," you know, and that would go on for days, and that's the way they learned to chant. And one day, the head monk came in and said, "Good morning," and they responded, and he had a strange look on his face. And they said, "What's the matter?" He said, "Someone chanted evening."
crept up on that one. I love it. Well, speaking of acoustics, not only is it critical for music, but before public address systems, it was critical for preaching.
Yes.
And you notice, some people may not notice it, but in a lot of the older churches, there's a sounding board right above the pulpit.
That's right. Yeah, to focus.
Yeah.
Right.
And that wasn't there for show. It was there to project the voice of the preacher. I can't imagine not using a microphone now, but that wasn't too long ago.
No, yeah. That's a whole nother subject.
Yeah, well, one of the things that we've started, Connie Anand, who was Father Anand's widow, Dean Anand's widow, has established a fund, a forward-looking fund, like a long-range fund, I guess she's called it the George Kent Endowment Fund. Well, she called it the Memorial Fund at first, and I thought, my God, he's not dead.
Well,
But I think the purpose of the fund, obviously, is to be prepared in the long term for the successor, someone who's going to come along after your major tenure here. You've been here probably a record number of years.
yes, quite a bit, since 1956.
That's amazing.
So,
That's amazing.
yeah.
And 14 rectors.
So far, yeah.
Well, they're working on 15 right now.
Right.
Some of you may know that Christ Church is in a transition period where after Sunil resigned to take a position in Michigan, the vestry called me to be interim rector, and that period of time encompasses a period where the vestry and the search committee do a introspective search of study of the parish life, where they've been, where they want to be, and where they're going. And the search committee will begin meetings in about 2 months, I guess. They're going to do another focus group with Ken and Dina from the diocese. And Dr. Natalie Pukas has worked hard leading these focus groups with the parish.
Yes, she's done an outstanding job. She really,
It's hard work.
no, it is, and she's quite thorough.
Yeah. Well, Natalie's equipped to do that. She was a superintendent of schools for many years, and
Yes.
she holds everybody's feet to the fire in a good way.
Yes. No.
And
no.
I think it's really important that, particularly in today's day and age, where there isn't an overabundance of clergy available to be considered. I remember back in the early '90s, before I had even gone to seminary, I was search chairman in St. Mark's Mystic. And
Oh, yeah.
we had a list of 65 candidates,
Wow.
and those days are over.
Yeah. Oh, yes. Quite.
You
Yeah.
know, and I think that here at Christ Church, the important thing is for them to do a good self-study, and then to eventually go out there and put the word out that they're interested in interviewing people and doing researching their background and references, and hopefully they'll take their time and do a judicious job of it. I'm enjoying myself. I was here as a seminarian about 27 years ago, and how ironic it is that I'm now in my retirement back here as interim rector, and I couldn't be happier. But the people have been very welcoming. But I think the important thing is for the lay leadership, the committees, and the people who go to these focus groups to really express what their desire is, and then it's going to be up to the search committee, and that's hard work.
Yes, it is, and you're absolutely right. It's much more difficult in these days.
In the Diocese of Connecticut, where I'm canonically resident, there are about 152 parishes, I think. There used to be 163, but some have merged and closed. But out of that 152, when I was rector of St. John's Niantic as full-time rector, I was one of only 47 full-time rectors of the diocese. And that number is going down as we speak. And I think that the dilemma is, of course, that it's an expensive proposition to compensate a full-time clergy. And that never has been an issue because we had the people here. I think with the pandemic, every parish took a hit in many ways.
Yes. So we're still reeling from that situation.
Yeah, I don't think church will ever be the same in some ways. I think the fact that we're doing this on the internet and live feeding our services 3 times a week, something that was unheard of before the pandemic. And I think that it's a different culture today, with all the activities that families can avail themselves of during the weekend. We have more and more people who are 2 family jobs, both husband and wife work, and they get 1 day off, and if it ends up being on Sunday, now they have a choice to make.
Yeah.
Their children are attracted to all sorts of sports programs and
Yes.
activities, from birthdays to tutors to piano lessons to football
To soccer.
The list is endless, and it really is up to each one of us, I guess, to make a decision about how important it is for us to know who Jesus Christ is and to be engaged in a faith community, to make a conscious decision to want to be there. It isn't like some churches where you're obligated to go. You go, you get your ticket punched, and then you fly out of there as soon as communion is over with. One of the things I find enjoyable here is when we have visitors, and they're nominally Roman Catholic, but they're kind of looking around. And when they know that we have coffee hour after the Eucharist, they can't believe it. What do you mean? People don't just leave? You ever find that interesting?
Yeah.
I mean, the whole cultural thing about being a community is, I think, a very unique aspect of being an Episcopalian.
Yeah. Yeah. It needs to be involved. There's no question. And the more involvement, the more caring.
Right.
And that's what makes it go.
I like to use the term having skin in the game, and I think that's what we Anglicans are invited to do, is to have skin in the game. We're actively involved with lay people assisting in our worship life, in our outreach life, and in our parish life, and even in the selection of the new priest. It isn't like it comes down from on high, a fiat from somebody with a mitre on and says,
Right.
"Here's your new priest."
Yeah.
So there's a lot of democracy, if you will, that gets involved in selecting leadership. Even in our selection of bishops, the bishops are elected by the people. So I think when David got elected bishop, I'm sure that I think there are people in the church like David who have the right charism to be bishops, and I think that it's a special ministry.
Yeah. It's all in leadership and the ability to lead, and that's a complicated issue. But when it's correct, it's
Oh yeah,
it makes it work.
yeah. Somebody asked me several years ago at St. Albans if I ever wanted to be a bishop, and I said I would rather have a root canal than be a bishop, You know, that's not my charism. I said, the only time I wear purple is on the golf course. But, you know, getting back to David, I really think that, you know, I said to somebody the other day, David Jocelyn is really part of the DNA of this place. You know, when I think of people that I've known, I go back as far as Jim Anand, not as a parishioner, but I think that his ministry here, and then each ministry builds on the next one. The next one builds on the previous one, you know. And Jim was I know he was an excellent preacher who later went on to become dean of the Berkeley Divinity School. And then David came along, and then Bob Anthony. They all had their own different skills and gifts.
That's correct. Yep.
You know, when you line them up on a wall and you look at the pictures, and you think how different they are and how well they all sort of fit into a niche in the same community with their own different gifts.
Right.
You know.
No, it's. Well, we've been very fortunate over the years. We've had some wonderful, wonderful clergy.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, I think that the service on Saturday will be a joyful time for us all to give thanks for all the wonderful things that David did during his ministry and the presence that he was and the influence that he had on so many people. He was such a caring guy, you know. Even up until the last 2 or 3 weeks, he was still wondering about how so-and-so was. And yeah, I mean, it was amazing.
Yeah,
You know, it really was amazing.
I'm aware of all of that. Yeah,
Yeah,
he's
he called
very
you
special.
Right. He called me up one day. Of course, I had him on my phone, and it said David Jocelyn, and so I would just say, "Good morning, Your Grace." He was, in this one call, he said, he didn't even say hello, he just said, "You're not going to like what I have to tell you." And I said, "Uh-oh, what have I done now?" Yeah. He goes, "I'm learning that you're a workaholic and you need to take better care of yourself." And I said, "Oh, I thought I was in trouble." But that's who he was, you know.
Yeah.
Worried about me spending too much time with him. But, you know, he was just, I really got close to him these last 3 months. And I know that so many people have such great affection for him. You know, I say this all the time, I really mean it, that I believe there's never been a more important time for the church to be the church. In a divided and angry society that we live in, where people have pulled back from engaging in community activities, where they're isolated from everyone else. Neighbors don't even know next door neighbors sometimes. Young parents spend half their life in a car, going from one sport event to the next, you know, and where do they find those relationships in that community? And I think the church has a wonderful opportunity to be that place. This place is.
Yes, no, I think Christ Church is a terribly important force in the immediate area. There's no question about it. Yeah.
George Herbert was an Anglican priest.
Yes.
You know what I'm talking about.
I do.
You know, and his philosophy was, if he were here, he wouldn't say, "I'm the rector of Christ Church." His parish was Westerly.
Yeah.
That was the way he looked at his ministry. And I think Christ Church has been an advocate in that kind of philosophy where the presence in the community is really as important as being a worship community on Sunday, you know. How has the choir changed over these years?
Oh, well, it's changed quite a bit, actually. And part of it is exactly what we've been talking about, or you've been talking about, because, for example, I used to have a great deal of number of young people involved, but that means 2 rehearsals a week minimum, plus Sunday, or 3 times at the church, and kids these days are unwilling to commit to that. And you speak of soccer and football on Sunday mornings, but that's been one of the big problems that has taken away from their involvement. And it goes back now 2 and 3 generations. So it's very difficult to get young people to commit.
Yeah.
And we're a choir of former young people, actually. Most of the members grew up here. You know. So there has been a lot of change.
You've had a few new members join the choir recently.
Yes, yeah, and a few more coming, so that's good.
Good. Good. Well, the choir has been known for many years to be to have excellent quality. You toured Europe with this choir, these choirs.
Well, with the chorus, actually, yeah.
With the chorus, yeah.
Yeah.
Which were many of it were choir members.
Oh, yes, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, most of them were. And I was very fortunate at one point to be able to observe what was going on at King's College in Cambridge, England, with David Wilcox. And he was very kind to me over the years. In fact, came here and did an evensong with us.
I remember that. Yeah.
So we've had a fairly good tradition.
Who was the organist at St. Thomas? Jerry.
Jerry. Oh my goodness.
I'm trying to think of his last name.
He played here also.
Yeah.
And oh my goodness, that's awful.
Isn't that awful? I can't think of his name either.
Yeah.
Well, we have to edit that out. Yeah.
God.
Well, Bob Anthony had quite a voice, didn't he? He was a singer.
He was a tenor.
Yeah.
Yep.
He sang at Amherst, I think, when he was in.
I believe that's correct. Yeah. And his wife, as a matter of fact, is going to sing the service on Saturday.
Mary Ann is.
Yeah,
oh,
she's coming.
Wonderful.
Yep.
I saw her at homecoming and the choir reunion, and gosh, she looks wonderful. She looks like she did 25 years ago. And yeah. Well, we're going to have incense on Saturday, and at David's approval. And I remember when I was a seminarian here, you talk about when you have incense, people always complain or they cough, or the people who resist, people who just don't like incense. But a lot of people do like it. And so I was here as a seminarian, and Bob Anthony said to me, "Why don't you come next week on Palm Sunday and be the thurifer, and borrow a red dalmatic from seminary and come next week." So I showed up with my red dalmatic. I had my album on, my red dalmatic, and I got here before Bob came across the street when the rectory was there. And I found the thurible, the pot that the incense burns in, but I couldn't find the briquettes or the incense. So Bob came over eventually, and I told him I couldn't find it. "Oh God, I forgot to order that." I said, "Well, I'm all dressed up and no place to go."
Yeah.
He goes, "Well, just swing the empty pot. It's symbolic anyway." Well, George, I did not get to the third pew with an empty pot before people started to cough. And it's a good experiment of, proof of Pavlov's dog.
Right. Yep.
It wasn't a speck of anything coming out of that.
No.
So.
Well, there was this old, way back tradition of high and low church.
Yeah.
and incense was associated with high church, and Christ Church in those days was middle of the road, more or less, you know, and it still is as far as that goes. But there were people. I mean, I know who these people were, who were just incense was just. You know, I often wonder if you put pot in there, what they would think.
We'd have to have more food at hospitality
Yeah, right.
for the munchies.
Oh boy.
What an idea. You know, one time when I was at St. John's, there were people in the choir hated incense because it made them cough, they said.
Yeah.
So one service, I put dry ice in the thermal with hot water,
Oh yeah.
and it looked like incense.
Right.
Well, it wasn't, and people still coughed.
Of course. Yeah.
Well, David went over this service with a fine-tooth comb, and I was talking to Bishop Provenzano, and he said, you know, I've been working on this sermon for 2 years.
Oh boy.
And he said, you know, boy, the more I read it, the more I think David wrote half of this himself.
Well, it'll be a great day.
Yeah, that's right. Be a great celebration. I think that I'm getting used to these all revved up broadcasts, and thank you for coming and sitting with me, listening and talking. And I interviewed Father Coutier the last time I did this, who's the most, you know, communication savvy priest in the church. He's got his own job on TV down in Florida, but I think that it's got possibilities. You know, we got a good list. Another addition to you, other potential guests that are going to come on.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
Well, it was my pleasure to
you,
be
George.
helpful.
And I enjoy. I love working with you.
Well, thank you too.
You know, I really do. I remember when I first came here, and I had to, Bob Anthony let me preach when I was a seminarian, and of course, you know, I was as nervous as a bridegroom the night before the wedding, and I get out there, and who's in the congregation? Jim Annand, Dean Annand, Bishop Appleyard,
Oh yeah.
and
yeah.
David Cannon,
Right.
David Crockett.
Yeah.
The three of them were in the congregation, and I thought, well, if this doesn't get any tougher than this, you know, but no, it's been a wonderful place, and it's going to continue to be, and I'm going to have fun doing this. I think that. Well, thank you very much for tuning in to All Rev'd Up, and we look forward to interviewing our next interesting guest in a week or two. Take care.
Thanks for watching. Did you know that you can join Christ Church from anywhere in the world? If you're feeling connected to what we're doing, email us today at communicate@christchurchwesterly.org.